But our next speaker is Darleen Phares. She's a water conservation manager for Suburban Water Systems. Suburban is a local utility that has over 74,000 customers, so they're a pretty good sized utility. Darleen manages water conservation programs including the public outreach, public education, and commercial customer programs for Suburban. She's been in the water business since 2002. She's a certified distribution operator in California, and she also is a certified water conservation practitioner. And she's currently going after her bachelor's degree in public administration. So, Darleen.
Thanks, Tony. So when they told me I was only going to have 10 minutes today, I thought, yikes, I don't know how I can do that. Now it looks like I've got about 5. But they do say a picture is worth 1,000 words. So I thought that might be a little bit of a help. And if maybe you would help me for just a minute, and if you're comfortable closing your eyes, close your eyes for this. Picture the San Gabriel Valley along the foothills. Just the landscaping, not the buildings, just the landscaping. So from Pasadena on over to Claremont. When you have a good picture in your mind, open your eyes. Did you picture this? How about this one? Maybe more like this. We don't live in a desert in the valley here, but we also don't have an unlimited water supply. We're somewhere in the middle. So today you're hearing a lot about different water supplies and different ways that we either bring water in or use the groundwater that's here available to us. Lots of different sources. Not all of those sources are reliable, and not all of those are always available to us when we need them. Of course, our biggest supply we don't have any control over, and that's our rainfall. So what happens when we can't rely on our supplies? I sort of think of conservation like the backup player on the bench at a football game. You've got your seasoned players out on the field, many of them here and in the room today, who look for our supplies and look for ways that we can have enough. Well, what happens if the player gets injured? What if we don't have enough supply? Well, I look at conservation as the one on the bench that kind of jumps in and says, okay, I've got to fill in now. Now, there's a difference between the term water conservation and water efficiency. Water efficiency is something that we should always be doing all the time, and that's simply using water efficiently and not wasting it. Conservation is when we actually need to cut back on what we're used to using. So what are the major drivers for conservation? And when I say our, I use that term loosely and very generously, and I mean all of our supply. So our customers, us as water suppliers, just California in general. When we have enough, you're not hearing the word conservation all that often. There isn't any reason to conserve if we've got plenty of water, right? So that's one reason that we conserve, maybe the top one. The second, in my mind, the second reason would be the state mandate. We've all been called to reduce our water use 20% by the year 2020. So how do we figure out what 20% is? Well, we all had to do some math and figure out what our 10-year baseline average was. And as producers, we know how much we sell. But when it comes down to cutting back, we're not really the ones that would be cutting back. It would be our customers that need to cut back that 20%. So we kind of need to understand where it goes and where we can cut back if we need to. And then the third reason is just the simplest reason, and that is just basically doing the right thing. We have a resource, comes from the sky, or depending on your beliefs, maybe higher source than that. But we do have a resource to use. So what message have we been giving to customers over the last 20 years about conservation? What does that mean, and where did we start? Well, I think we started here. in the house. So since the 90s, when we were going through a drought, we started indoors. And maybe some of you in elementary school were hearing the message, you know, take shorter showers, turn the water off when you brush your teeth. We encouraged people to install low-flow shower heads and to replace their toilets and washing machines with more efficient models. So we offered rebates. Many rebates were offered, and still are, by Metropolitan Water District and local wholesale districts, so Upper District and Three Valleys. So a lot of toilets have been replaced. A lot of washing machines have been replaced. And I think for the most part, we kind of get the idea of how much water we use indoors and how we can save that. So what do we do now? We step outside. In Southern California, the average residential water use, about 60 to 70% of that is outdoors on irrigation. And numbers upwards of 50%, they say up to 50% of that outdoor water use is actually wasted. It's not going directly to that plant. It's not going directly to that lawn, the trees. It's running down the drain. And that's where the savings can be found when we need to find it. Now, how do we share that message with customers, and how do we help them understand where their water is going? I've just listed some of the programs that Suburban has been implementing. As part of our mission statement, one of our mission statements is stewardship of the environment. And this is one way we do that, by implementing conservation programs and educating customers on how to cut back if they need to. Public outreach and messaging, that's public events, city events. Many of you have seen us out at different city and community events, messaging on our bills, bill inserts, and school education, talking to kids just on ground level, what are the basics? And we are starting to move outdoors with that message. It's not just about taking a shower 5 minutes instead of 10 minutes. It's looking outdoors at where all that water actually is going. Rebates, toilet programs, and just briefly, I just wanted to share a little bit about the last one on the list, and that's landscape audits. This particularly comes in handy for large irrigation customers. So parks, cities, golf courses, where a lot of water is being used outdoors. And there's different consultants in the area, contractors who've been doing this for a number of years, and Upper District recently has had some of these done. Suburban's had numerous audits done for schools and their irrigation systems. And basically, someone goes in, evaluates the property, looks at where the water use is, and whether the system is efficient, and then gives them a report. I included a couple pictures, showing them their water zones, their valves, and even down to sprinkler heads. And numbers are put together as far as how much they could actually save if they either upgraded the system, replaced broken parts, or just basically became more efficient. And along with those reports, water savings are included. So the customer can look at their history of water usage and how much they could save if they actually upgraded their system. So today I mentioned the three major drivers, which are our water supply. That means everybody in this room. The state mandate for 20% by 2020, which hopefully it won't get to the point where we have to really batten down the hatches, but if we do, we're going to need to work with customers on that. It's not on the water suppliers. I mean, it's our responsibility, and we're going to be called to answer for those water numbers, but we will need help from the public. And then the third reason was just basically the simplest, easy one, and that's just to do the right thing. That's it.